At-large Representative Honorable Archibald Christian says the BVI, like other Caribbean countries, has a lot of virgin lands and opportunities that are ripe for further development. Addressing the 7th sitting of the House of Assembly, Christian says there is need for improved dialogue between government and residents about foreign investments in the territory and who are the likely ones to be beneficiaries in the process.
Economic activity in this country can only happen by new developments. So I was privileged, Madam Speaker, to attend 2 conferences within the last 2 months. The CRIS conference in Miami, which dealt with developments of resorts and other properties in the Caribbean, and one in New York that dealt with the development of properties in North America and the development of the tourism industry in the Caribbean. And Madam Speaker, while the outlook for the world's economy is showing signs of improving, there are still challenges. But while there are challenges, there are still persons that have the capital and the cash and the ability to be able to do development in Caribbean islands. And I am not going to pretend that I don't want development in my country. I certainly want development in this country because outward investment spurs on inward investment. And I think we have an opportunity before us right now where we have met with several potential developers, and we continue to speak to those, and the Premier may elaborate a little bit, that the BVI and the Caribbean indeed is right now ripe for further development because we still have areas that are virgin, untapped, and not touched as yet. And I think we need to have an honest debate with the public about how far do we want to develop our territory and who are we going to develop the territory for.
Christian says there is also need for improved awareness and assistance to help residents become familiar with the potential negative impacts of developing lands in some sections of the BVI.
You know, we have experts in the Town and Country Planning Department, we have experts in the Office of Disaster Preparedness, and there's some concerns that have been raised about the potential impacts of development of land in the Caribbean area. And several public meetings have been held. He may not be aware of it, but several public meetings have been held regarding a total master plan for the development of those lands in the Caribbean area. And all I can say, Madam Speaker, is that we need to guide those persons accordingly based on the impacts that will affect their lands and see what is the best solution that can be agreed upon so that they can perhaps continue planning the proposed developments of their sites. But Madam Speaker, all people also have to understand that they have to be guided in the right way because we don't want developments to impact other people's property and other people's lives. And those things we have to take into consideration, and those things we must be fruitful and honest to tell them that there may be constraints with what you want to do with your property. Bearing in mind that we all recognize that property is very sacred to us. But in some parts of the BVI, we have physical constraints due to circumstances that some of us may not anticipate until you start to do development. But we now have expertise and data that can assist us in determining how best to develop those properties. And I think that's the way we need to operate in trying to help and educate our people with respect to their lands.
Natural Resources Minister Dr. Kedrick Pickering responded to complaints raised about access to lands in Carrot Bay by opposition member Julian Fraser. And he said that he acknowledges that one of the easiest ways to settle the issue would be for government to purchase all the lands and convert the area into a national park. But that option, he says, has its challenges.
First of all, Madam Speaker, I want to respond to the point that was raised by the member for the 3rd District with respect to the issue of the lands and more specifically the watershed area in Carrot Bay. And I want to identify with the Honorable Member, Madam Speaker, in that these are very difficult issues. I had a contingent from the area visited me several months ago. There is a fairly thick document that has been prepared by the technical experts looking at the whole issue of that watershed in the Carrot Bay area, understanding that it runs from the Sage Mountain all the way down, traverses through the community in, I think it's 2 different guts, and ultimately it heads into the ocean where the marine environment is particularly affected by whatever drains down from the mountainside. There are several families that are involved with it, and they have some very practical concerns. And I can't stand here, Madam Speaker, and say to the Honorable Member or to any of them that they're easy issues to be resolved. The simplest solution to the problem, Madam Speaker, would be if government had the funds to purchase the land, especially in the higher altitudes, and just convert it into a national park. That would be the simplest issue.
On November 19, 2013, residents of Carrot Bay and the surrounding areas were given an update on the findings of a development plan for the Carrot Bay community 2010-2020 and the policy decisions regarding land subdivisions. The residents called for access to their properties in the hillsides around Carrot Bay, but Chief Planner Gregory Adams raised concerns with future residential and other forms of development in the hillsides close to the Sage Mountain National Park, citing possible negative impacts. Adams said the Premier's office gave approval for landowners in Carrot Bay to subdivide larger estates into smaller portions of land. However, no physical development would be allowed until the infrastructural plans for the area are complete. Given the environmental concerns, the Chief Planner said a similar study is being worked on for the entire territory. The Carrot Bay Development Plan seeks to, among other things, construct a dock for the local fishermen, a multi-purpose center to house a combined fish and agricultural market, local heritage, and an offshoot of the Maritime Museum at HLSCC, regularized car parking, and vendor kiosk. Other proposals include improvements to coastal defenses, the revival of agricultural areas, village conservation projects, and ecotourism business opportunities for the youth. Government says it is yet to find the funds to finance the Carrot Bay Community 2010-2020 development plan.